Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Office Add-ins Developer Community Call. Before we get into things today, I just wanted to note that we did a little bit of change to the format. Traditionally, we've had a little 5-minute overview that we do at the beginning about what are Office add-ins, and we have some manifest, HTML file, and mostly for new folks that might not know what they are. But we did a survey a while back with the community, and what we heard is that for most folks that keep coming back to the call, they just want to get right to the demos and right to the interesting stuff, and then that part isn't really as useful. So we heard that feedback, and we took that section out and we changed it so that at the end, if we have new folks that are wondering more about Office add-ins, we have some links and info about them. But we switched it up so that we just get right into the meat of the content. And I think this is great. For community purposes, it's a conversation. It's not just us presenting stuff, but it's about listening and making changes, because we need the community call to be as useful as possible to you, the developer. Office add-ins aren't successful unless you're building Office add-ins, and we want to get you information in the best way we can do that. Otherwise, there'd be no point to have the platform if we can help people build on it. So thank you for that feedback. We've made that change, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into the agenda now. What's up for today? We're going to talk about Office scripting, new feature that's out there in preview. We're also going to talk about modernizing Visual Studio templates for Office add-ins. We have a demo around that. And then finally, we'll have some Q&A. Now, on the questions, as we go along, if you have a question, just feel free to post it in the chat window. And there's several of us that will be answering questions as we go along. And if we're not able to get to all of the answers, or you don't have an answer right away, we post a blog summary of this call in a few days, and we will have all of the answers posted there. And also, just a reminder, please keep your microphone muted so that we don't pick up any extra noise on the call, because we like to post the video of this as well to our YouTube channel. All right, so presenters for today. My name is David Chestnut. I'm a dev writer on the Office Extensibility team. Alex Jarabek is joining me today, also a dev writer on the Office Extensibility team. Jeffrey Dunn is a senior designer on the team, and he'll be chatting more about Office scripts. Good morning. And Sylvia Okafor is a program manager on the team, and she'll be talking about some Visual Studio template updates. All right, so Office scripts with Jeffrey Dunn. Let's go ahead and jump into that. Jeffrey?
Yeah. Good morning from Redmond. Thanks, David. I'm going to start out giving a little bit of context about the Office scripts effort and dive into a demo and show you a little bit about what we have in preview and what's coming. So our mission with Office scripts is really to empower Office users to easily automate tasks and processes, and to run their businesses efficiently anytime and anywhere. It's a big mission, and our initial scope is smaller than that mission, but that's the mission. And things we've learned from talking to our customers is that in the landscape of automation, customers seek to really save themselves time with the automation of repetitive tasks inside of Excel and Office products. They like to streamline processes and remove errors and human errors from processes. And then many folks in organizations like to increase their impact by growing new skills that give them new capabilities inside of our apps. And all these things ladder up to the ability to focus more on the creative tasks that they do in their work. And then further, I think there's a great opportunity that we've seen for business logic and rules to be embedded directly with the content that's running a business process. So these are some of the things that we've learned from talking to some of our customers. And when you think about the broad programmability options in Office today, we like to use this matrix to sort of think about what we have available. At the bottom, we have things that you are all very familiar with, being web add-ins and COM-based add-ins for a pro dev audience. On the left-hand side, these things are sort of desktop and bound individually focused. But on the right, we're focused on a modern environment that's web-based and collab. On the top, in the top left quadrant, we have something like VBA today. It's bound to the desktop, it's somewhat end user approachable. And what we're trying to do with Office scripts is fill that quadrant in the top right. So we have something that's alive with collaboration, it's focused on the web, and it's really end user approachable. So anyone in your organization can start scripting. Before I dive into my demo, I just want to give a little bit of context of what the demo is about. So let's imagine that we work for a company that makes a small piece of software that we make available for folks on the web. And as folks download that piece of software, we collect download logs, and we really have a simple question about what percentage of these downloads are coming from outside of the US. So that's the context of the demo. Let me call up my fancy Edge browser. And just to set the stage here, my name is now Patty, and I am in Excel for the web. And you can see in this summary worksheet that I've already done the analysis of a few weeks here. So we can see that the majority of downloads are coming from outside the US. In my summary worksheet, you can see that I have analysis for the past couple of weeks done. And my colleague has been busy putting a bunch of raw data into this workbook. And so I've got about 6 weeks of data to clean up and get ready for analysis. Typically, a user might do this with a bunch of manual steps, but with Office scripts, you can go to the Automate tab and click on Record Actions. And what Record Actions does is it observes every step that you take in your Excel workbook and records the script of those scripts. So I'm going to select the last 3 columns in this workbook and delete them. And you can see that action is recorded as intents in the Record Actions pane. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the data in this worksheet. And I am going to convert it to a table with headers. And again, those actions are captured. And then there's something funky with the header here, so I'm just going to try to make it a little more legible by changing a few colors. And you can see with very little effort, I've been able to create a set of steps that I may be able to repeat on each one of these worksheets. So if I click Stop, and I name this Create and Format Table. For purposes now, I'm not going to give it a description, but if I click Save, Excel is going to take me to a code editor task pane with a details page where I can see information about that script. So again, without looking at code, I've created a script that I can reuse in this workbook. But it's only going to work on this particular sheet, given the shape of this data. So what I can do is I can go to the code editor and change one line of this code. Instead of using the getRange method, I can use the getUsedRange method. And then I'm going to save that script. And you can see as I do that, I have access to IntelliSense and the full JS API that you may be familiar with from developing add-ins. And I'm going to go back to the script details page. And you can see here that I now have a script that I can run on any of these worksheets, regardless of the shape of the data, and get the results that I need. And with very little effort, I've written something that can save me and my team a bunch of time. So I'll just finish running this on each of the worksheets. Okay, so this is great, but the data we need to do our analysis is not quite here yet. So let's imagine I'm going to pulling a cake out of the oven moment here. Let's imagine that we've already written a script that can help us do that analysis. So here I've written a script that grabs a number of ranges in the current workbook, manipulates them, extracts the IP address from this worksheet, and determines whether that IP address is from the US or not. Right now I've got a few lines of code commented out. And so if I click run on this thing, the console log or output log is going to pop up. And here you can see that from the first line of data here, we're extracting that IP address, converting it to an integer, and determining whether it's in the US or not. So the console here is the way that you would troubleshoot your scripts. This is all very familiar to some of you that have been using ScriptLab. Here we're taking a very similar set of features and making them a core part of Excel on the web natively. So one thing I'm going to do here is go back to that console statement, comment it out, and then uncomment a few lines of code here to get the output that I want. So I'm going to save that script, close the console, and then I'm going to run this. And we should see a new column added with some summary data for each one of these worksheets. And so as I'm doing this, I'm just going to reflect a little bit that we have custom TypeScript written inside the context of Excel that is runnable by any member of your team that has access to this workbook. And so this is truly meeting our goals with this scenario is truly meeting our goals by removing errors in the process and really saving your team a bunch of time. So there's a unit of productivity that's highly customized to the way your team runs their business on a regular basis. And of course, just like anything scripting, instead of doing all these manual steps across each worksheet, you could tie them all together with a script. And so if I go back to the summary, all the additional 6 weeks are added and we have a chart, and we can confirm we have a fairly consistent pattern here of more of our downloads coming from outside of the US than elsewhere. So this is exactly the type of scenario that we expect you to be able to run or create with Office scripts. And I'll just pause there to highlight two things. The first is that currently in the Automate tab, we have two actions. You'll notice a big empty space at the right. That is something that we will be filling with more features and the capability to browse scripts associated with yourself or this workbook. And then the other thing is these scripts that we've created are all available on OneDrive. So they're automatically stored to your OneDrive and you have access to them there. Now this capability to automate in Excel doesn't end with just the context of Excel and a manual run operation. We have the capability to hook these scripts up to flows in Power Automate. So in Power Automate, you can automate many things, many workflows, and connect your different services together into automated workflows. And Office scripts is one of those things that you can hook up. So I'm going to switch back to the presentation. And we don't have this yet working in my particular demo environment, but here is an example of what one of those flows in Power Automate might look like based on the scenario that we just walked through. So here we have a recurrence that's happening 4:30 a.m. every day. And I have an additional script here that is opening up that same Excel file and checking for new worksheets. If no new worksheets are returned, then the process stops. If a worksheet is found, we start running the two scripts that we just walked through. But first, I clean and format the table, and then I process the IP address. And then an additional step takes that chart that was created and posts it to the team, to a Teams channel with details, with a message about current status. So now your team stays informed about the current status of software downloads for your project without any of the manual effort. You can see there's two sort of critical aspects of these scripts in these Power Automate flows. The first is that a script can take values from previous steps in the flow and as parameters, and it can return values to subsequent steps. So the chart is an example of a returned value that's processed by the post message action inside of flow. So now that I've given you a little bit of a taste of how you can how folks in your organizations can create, share, and schedule, and even manage some of their scripts, I want to talk a little bit about what's available now and what's coming. So today in preview, we have the action recorder and code editor that I shared, and the rest of the things on this slide are coming soon. The ability to actually share a script in a workbook is coming. The Power Automate connector is coming. The ability for admins to control and manage scripts inside of their organization is coming. This notion of being able to do some of that in-client scheduling directly inside of Excel, that's what we mean by client here, and the ability to provide organizations with a robust script management experience. And as Alex mentioned earlier, to get access to this feature, there's a few things. One, this is E3 and E5 only. And then IT admins need to enable this in their tenant. And once that's done, the Automate tab should be showing up for users inside of that tenant. And I think we are in the process of rolling this out, and I think it was just this week that we reached 100%. So that every Excel file or a tenant that's enabled on E3 or E5 should have the Automate tab in it. And from there, you can start using scripts.
And does that include tenants created through the developer program?
Yes, it does.
Great.
As long as the admin of that tenant has enabled this thing. We would love your feedback. The developer community is a crucial user of this type of functionality. So please share your thoughts on Office.com Excel feedback, and of course join the Excel community. I personally believe there's a great opportunity, just like in ScriptLab, for you to be able to explore the APIs that are available in the Excel landscape. And certainly the ability to record a script and view that code will help you through lots of different challenges that you may have in understanding our APIs. And that's certainly something that we've seen in the older VBA landscape, is that you learn by recording. And so we hope that you are able to take advantage of that in a similar fashion with Office scripts. That's the end of my demo. Thanks for the time. I look forward to seeing any and all the questions that you guys have.
Yeah, we got a couple. There's a discussion happening right now about integrating Office scripts with add-ins, like potentially recording actions within your add-in and having those be replayed, like automating task pane actions.
Yeah.
So is that something that is
currently out of scope? The ability to record things that are not native to Office is out of scope.
All right. And there was a question around Power Automate being suitable for application level add-ins. So is there like integration between add-ins and Power Automate today? Or is that up to the add-in developer to create those connectors?
I think it would be up to the add-in developer to create those connectors. So if your add-in has a REST API, you can create a custom connector in Power Automate, and then that can be called as a part of the flow in some way. I think those are the technical building blocks that you would need.
All right, cool. There was also a question around using Python to script actions in Excel for the web. Is that on your radar or knowledge?
That is not currently on the roadmap. That is consistent. A second language is consistently come up in the Excel context. So we're aware of those conversations and that feedback, but no definitive plans yet.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Cool stuff. Great questions too. Next up is Sylvia.
Yes. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sylvia Oakfor. I'm a program manager on the Office Add-ins Developer Experience team. And I'm here to talk to you about modernizing the Visual Studio templates. So taking a step back, the goal of the Developer Experience team is to help developers be successful building Office add-ins using modern tools and frameworks. Now, that doesn't mean that we will support all frameworks in existence. We've tried this. We tried it a couple years ago. We had samples across the different frameworks available. And we noticed that a year later, they were out of date and we just didn't have the bandwidth to keep up with all the different frameworks. So we've pivoted a little bit and we decided that we will start by going deep on a few of the frameworks that will reach and impact the most amount of people. So what does that mean for Visual Studio? In Visual Studio today, we support .NET Framework and Fabric.js. We will continue to support that because I think that's one of our core scenarios. Now what we're looking into is how do we fit into the .NET Core story? So if you're a .NET developer, you're aware that there's been a lot of buzz around .NET Core. And so we took a step back and said, okay, what's our story here? How do we start building off of the momentum? So we've kind of put together, and what I'll be demoing today is a template that leverages .NET Core and Fabric React. And our goal is that this is kind of the first step in modernizing our Visual Studio templates and supporting more developers who are in Visual Studio. It is a journey, so we would love your feedback. We would love you to get involved in the discussion and help make sure that we're going after the right frameworks and building the right experience for you. But today we are starting with this. We are starting with .NET Core and Fabric React. So I will hop right into demo, actually. So today, this sample is in our PMP repo. It's live today, so you can go and try it after the call or whenever works for you. There are a few prerequisites. The first is Visual Studio 2019. You can be in update 3 or newer. So if you're in the preview version of Visual Studio, you're fine. If you are in the non-preview version, make sure that you have update 3. And then you need to have the following components installed. So you need the .NET component, the Node.js component, Office and SharePoint, as well as the .NET Core 2.2 runtime. Once you have those and Node.js installed on your machine, getting started is pretty much similar to how you get started with add-ins today. You're going to open Visual Studio, click Create New Project, search Excel, and then make sure that you're creating the web add-in, not the VSTO add-in. From here, you can call it whatever you want, and then make sure you select Add New Functionalities to Excel, not the Insert Content into Spreadsheet. So that will start creating the template, and then to add .NET Core and Fabric React, you actually need to clone the PMP repo. And so if you open a command prompt, go to where you want to create your project, and then type in git clone and the URL. And that will download the project onto your local drive. And you want to make sure that you download it onto the same local drive that Visual Studio created your project. So for me, it's easy. I only have one drive. They all get downloaded to the same place. But if you're using multiple drives, like a C drive and a D drive, make sure that you're installing both projects to the same place. So, all right, my add-in has been created. So from here, this is the original add-in that is in Visual Studio today. To add the .NET Core and React piece, you want to right-click the solution, go down to Add, and then Add Existing Project. Then you want to navigate to where you downloaded the PNP repo. So for me, it was in downloads. You can see it right here. I go to samples. Here's the .NET Core React. Choose the language that you're more comfortable with. I'm comfortable with TypeScript, so I'm going to choose that. And then I'm going to go ahead and include the project. You can see the project was included here. I'm actually going to go ahead and build this now so it can be installed and then be integrated with the original add-in. And actually, I will pause right here just to call out something that you may notice. So this is the original web add-in project. You can see the structure here below. The new .NET Core React has a slightly different structure. And so where you'll find the code is in this client app folder. If you expand public, you'll see the task pane styling as well as the task pane code. And then in source, you will see the index.tsx file. And in components, you'll see the app.tsx file. And this is where most of your JavaScript code will end up going. So you can see the default, we always change the color of the range to yellow. And so that code lives in the app.tsx. All right. So I think my project has finished building. Let me double check. Yes, that looks right. So what you're going to do next is you're going to link both your .NET Core and React template and your add-in manifest. So to do that, you want to go to Excel Web Add-in 5 or whatever your project was called. And you'll see down here in the properties pane, web project. So here, you want to change this to your .NET Core and React template. Do you want to associate? Yes, we do. We want to link the two together. And that will update the manifest and do a couple other linkings. Then the final step in this to link the two projects is to go into your manifest, copy this ID, and then you want to update the manifest in your ASP.NET Core template. So if I go here, you can see the same ID. Make sure you change that. And then you're actually going to take this whole manifest and replace your old one. So let me flip back one more time. Here we go. Just Control A, replace the whole thing, save. And that is the last step, but your add-in should now be a .NET Core and React add-in. So to launch it, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit F5. Here we go. And you'll see Excel is gonna load. It's loading the add-ins. We're still working on some of the performance here, now using .NET Core and how do we optimize this to be as fast as the previous templates. So that is something that we're aware of and are continuing to work on. So I'll just give it a second. There it goes. Awesome. Okay, so add-in loaded successfully. You'll see the show task pane button. Again, we're aware of the performance. This is something I'm still working on, but awesome, cool. It loaded. If I select a range here, I hit run, it changes to yellow. If I go back to Visual Studio, to my Solution Explorer and my app.tsx file, here we go. I can actually change this to, let's say we want to do green. Go ahead and do that. Open Excel again, change, and you can see it's up to date. And this is using, that's pretty much it. This is using .NET Core and React, as you still get the same functionality with Office.js. There are a few extra steps because this is still in preview and something that we wanted to test out and make sure that it's a project type that people would want and use. And honestly, this is where you guys come in. So let me switch back to the presentation here. Okay, cool, perfect. So like I mentioned in the beginning, this is a journey, this is a conversation. We would love your feedback and love for you to get involved. If you're a .NET developer and have opinions or things that you want to see in the experience, please come talk to us. And so these are kind of our two action items. Go try out the .NET Core and React template that's in the PNP repo. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think and how it works for you. And then if you have additional opinions or additional feedback that you want to give us, sign up for an interview and come talk to us about how you use .NET with Office add-ins and what you expect to see and what you would like to see from the platform. That's pretty much it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Sylvia.
Were there questions, or I wasn't paying attention to the chat?
I think we got them all answered. I'll double check while we're going through the rest.
Yeah, if you want to hang out for a few minutes, there might be a few more questions coming in. There was a few questions that came in on the form, the other Q&A form that you can fill out before the call starts. And so I just want to get some of those. I saw somebody asked about Blazor in the chat, and that was actually one of the questions that came in on the form as well. The question is basically, is Blazor supported in a web add-in that runs on Outlook desktop? I reached out to the team with that question, and we don't have an answer yet. I'm still working with them on that. So what we're going to do is, once we put out the blog summary of the call in a couple of days, we'll put the question and the answer out there. So that one's still in progress.
Do you want me to say a little bit about Blazor support?
Yeah, if you know, that would be awesome.
I only know a little bit. So our understanding is that Blazor is kind of a layer, or will be a layer on top of our JavaScript APIs. So for us, we need to build more APIs and a deeper foundation for it to really be valuable to .NET developers. There may be places where using Blazor for like non-Office integration could be a possibility, but our team is currently has limited resources, and we can't really fund the investigation into that. If there is someone who is interested in experimenting with this or experimenting with us on figuring out proof of concept or an MVP around Blazor and Office add-in development, we're happy to talk about it. We're happy to see what we can do to engage with them and help make that successful. But it's not going to be a big thing for Office add-ins unless we get some help. So if that's something that people on the call are interested in, please sign up for an interview. We'd love to see how we can support and kind of get something off the ground, but we definitely need help figuring out the Blazor story if folks want to get involved.
Okay, that's great to know. So would you recommend that if someone wants to get in touch to use that same link that was in there for the interviews?
Exactly. Sign up for an interview, and then we're happy to engage and happy to figure out what we can do here. But it's something that we can't really fund directly from our team right now. Okay.
Thanks for that answer. Okay, so another question we had was, when will the add from base64 API go from preview to release? It's been preview for a long time, I think about a year. This question's come up before on the call, and so I hope it's not a frustrating thing for anyone. We certainly hope that's not the case. So I reached out to the team on this, and it's still in preview. We unfortunately don't have a timeline yet. There's kind of some technical things that are some challenges trying to get solved, and so it's kind of holding it up right now. So I hope we have something that we can give more information about that soon. But as of right now, we don't really have a timeline. We also had a question on if there is a plan to implement a hook function for the undo send feature in Outlook. It's kind of an interesting question. Hooking into that undo send, if somebody does sending their email, I should know what you would do with that. Anyway, the answer is we don't have a plan right now. So if that's a feature you'd like to see, go to our user voice site, which I'll have a link for in just a sec, and tell us more about what you would be looking to do with that. And that's something you can take a look at down the road. So those were the questions that came in. I think we're good on the Q&A. I'm going to move along.
Yeah, I think we're all.
Okay.
There was a question about if we're going to continue working on the PowerPoint JavaScript API, and Kara answered it. That we will post any updates, but right now our focus is on Excel and Outlook.
Okay, so got it. So if you're new to Office add-ins, this slide has some links that can help you get started. So the first link is a link to our documentation, and there we have these 5-minute quick starts, which is a great way just to jump in and see how it works and get started with something quick. We also have the Script Lab that is an option to use too, which is an add-in that allows you to basically have a little playground environment, and it comes with a lot of little samples you can run just to see how the code works. And that way you don't have to set up a dev environment. You can just kind of go try stuff out and see how it works. So definitely check out those links. You get a chance if you're new. Also, I want to point out, This community call isn't just presentations from Microsoft. We've done presentations in the past where developers from other companies, individuals have just presented. So I would say, if you have something you want to share with the community and you want to present about some pattern that you've implemented or a cool feature that's useful for other developers to see, reach out to us and let us know. This AKA MS link goes to a forum, and you can let us know what it is you'd like to present about, some information about yourself, and we'll get in touch with you and work to set something up. If you want, you can also use this forum just to give us feedback on the docs. We're always looking for suggestions to make the docs better, so just let us know. And here's some developer resources, and all these links will get posted to the blog, by the way, afterwards as well. We have the Office 365 Developer Program, which gives you a free tenant that you can program against and test on, which I highly recommend. I use it all the time for working on my own samples. There's a link to Script Lab, the Office add-ins documentation. And then if you have questions, there's Stack Overflow, and we have the tags there you can use to ask questions, or oftentimes you might have the same question somebody else had, and the answer's already out there. If you find a bug in the product, you can let us know on GitHub by submitting an issue into the Office.js repo. Here's a link to the user voice site if you want to make future requests. That's where to let us know more about that on-send hook that you'd like to see. You can also send us file or found from inside Office and let us know what you think about various features in Office itself. This isn't the only developer community call. We have lots of community calls. So there's a list of all of them. For Microsoft 365, we have calls about Microsoft Graph, Teams, we have SharePoint. Basically, if there's areas here you're interested in, you can get connected with these and get more information in those areas. One thing I'd recommend, I'm just going to bring this up, this link at the bottom will actually take you to our event page. This is kind of a neat way just to see what the upcoming events are. So you get a list of stuff that's coming up next, and you can, I don't know, I think it'd be kind of cool. One thing you do is beginning of each week, if you're really interested in calls, you just kind of see what's coming up, sign up for stuff. So just want to share that. And then lastly, just want to say thank you. It's really great to have people participate in feedback and also sharing information that we have. There'll be a recording available soon after on our Microsoft 365 Developer YouTube channel. There's a link to that there. And also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev. This call is the second Tuesday of every month. So the next call will be on March 11th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's a link there to the invite. If you click on that, you'll get a calendar invite, put on your calendar. And you can also submit questions. There's a link to that forum if you want to submit questions in advance. Let us know. We'll work to get them answered. And I think that's it. I just want to check, David, was there anything else on these slides you mentioned?
No, I think that's great. If you subscribe to both our YouTube channel and Twitter, you will just you'll get the information that you need about announcements, our previews, GA, all of our recordings and things that are coming up so that you have the opportunity to join.
All right. So that brings us to the end of the call. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.